Okay, welcome everyone to this very section. Nice having Ms. Julie here. Yes, Ms. Julie is a PhD student in Molloy College, New York City. Nice having
Yes.
you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and privilege to be joining you today and to be having this conversation about presence. So the
That's
pleasure is
beautiful.
mine. Pleasure
That's
is mine.
beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, so would you mind tell me more about yourself?
Sure. Um, my name is Julie, and as you mentioned, I reside in New York in the United States, and we've had a very tough time here, as most of the world has. With the COVID pandemic. So New York was hit very hard. However, that did not prevent me from doing what I needed to get done. I've been a registered nurse for over 35 years.
Wow,
And yeah, and
that's
I've worked
surprising.
in a lot of different settings.
Oh,
Coming out as a new graduate, I worked in a hospital, an acute care setting.
okay.
And through the course of my acute care tenure, I took on many different roles, starting out as a staff nurse. Then my first leadership position, I guess, was as a preceptor, a
Okay.
mentor to new nurses. Because of my experience with mentoring, I was offered a position as an educator within the facility,
Oh,
which I took on.
perfect.
And then eventually I became the director of the education department. I stayed in acute care for close to 15 years, and then I made a leap to go into another field, and that welcomed me into the world of long-term care nursing,
Oh,
because the population that I am, or that is near and dear to my heart, is the older adults, the older population. And it was
okay.
through a colleague by doing a continuing education program that my heart just went out to the longer term, the long term care population. So I've worked in long term care, boy, since 1998, and I've held a lot of roles in long term care, being an educator, to being an assistant director of nursing, to being a director of nursing.
Wonderful.
Um, so I've done a lot.
Hmm.
During the course of those years, graduating with a bachelor's degree, I went on for my master's degree because my mentor was the woman who gave me my first education position.
Oh,
And she
perfect.
said, Julie, you need to go on. And at that point, I didn't think I was ready for it, but I did. And I obtained my master's degree again from Molloy College, where I
Okay.
got my bachelor's degree also.
Awesome.
And then, yeah, and I do have a family also, and my daughter is also a registered nurse.
Wow, wonderful.
But yeah, so I said, when we're done paying her tuition, I'm going to go back to school, not because I have to, but because I want to,
Hmm.
because I feel it's very important to keep the mind moving. You don't want to become
Yes.
stagnant. So I applied for entry into a PhD program. And 4 years later, here I am getting ready to begin my dissertation and my actual research. And the research that I'm planning to do is a qualitative phenomenological study
Okay.
on the lived experience of older adults with vision impairment,
Okay.
and how they integrate into social and recreational programs in the long-term care setting. Why vision? Never in a million years did I think I'd be talking about vision, but I was awarded a scholarship through the Jonas Foundation,
Oh,
and vision is near and dear to them. So I said, how can I make the best of both worlds? Vision, older adults, quality of life. And based on stuff that I had seen going
mm,
on in the long term care setting, I wanted to focus in on their integration into programs because very
Oh,
often I feel that they are left out because of the visual impairment. So that's where I am now. That's a little bit about me.
that's amazing. It's obvious you have a wealth of experience.
It is, and I can only thank the people who mentored and groomed me for giving me those opportunities. Even when there are times that I said, I can't do this, that's not for me. I took on the challenge. Sometimes it was a little rough, but I took on the challenge and I made it work. And now I get to share it with other people as well. That when you think you can't do something, you know what? Take the risk, take the chance, because you never know where it's going to lead you. And
Yes.
that's what I've done during the course of my career. Now, if I can only influence my daughter to do the same thing, that's another story. But she's happy doing what she does, which is totally different than what I do.
Your story is really inspiring. I love that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I believe it will help many people out there. Thank you for yours.
Um,
Thank you. I think now you have to kindly tell me or tell your viewers about your views regarding caring presence.
well, caring presence to me is not a term that's often used, or at least I hadn't heard it often used. I recall back in my master program days when we were discussing all the different nurse theorists. And one of the theorists who has a caring theory was Jean Watson. And as part of my, I guess, master's project, myself and my classmates had to put together a nursing curriculum. And the curriculum needed to be based on a nursing theorist. And we chose the human caring theory by Jean Watson as the philosophy of our fake school of nursing. And you never really think about presence and about caring presence until something specific kind of like hits you. And I learned a lot about presence and caring presence during the pandemic because being a nurse working in New York City, working in a long term care facility where many people succumbed to the virus because of all the restrictions that we had placed on, that were placed on us. There wasn't, I'm not going to say there wasn't caring, but there was different caring. And presence of staff was not always there because they were dealing with other, life sustaining measures within the population that we were serving. However, in my PhD program and in my current, course of study and beginning my research, being that it's qualitative, I get to do a lot of interviewing, especially if I want to know the lived experience. And what I have found from the handful of residents that I have interviewed thus far is that many of them are willing to participate in my interview because my presence is there and they want someone to talk to, which is what they've missed for almost a year and a half. No one has had the time or the opportunity to really sit with them, to hear them, to talk to them, to allay their fears, to allay their frustrations. And me coming in as another party, not even a part of the staff, um, I found it rewarding that just my presence was bringing comfort and support to them. They knew that I was recording the interview, and once I turned that recorder off, they wanted to continue talking. They didn't, it was almost like they didn't want me to leave because they didn't know if they would get that opportunity to talk again. because in some facilities, visitation is still on restriction, and friends and families either can't get there or can't get there on the days that visitation is allowed. So me obtaining permission to come into the facility, I was I was there for them. And when I had come back to the facility to interview other residents, I specifically went to go see them because I knew that, well, I wasn't sure, but when I went to go say hello to them, their response was, "You're back? Oh, that's good. Do you have time to talk?" And as nurses, we often base what we do by how much time is it going to take. Oh boy, I don't have time for this. I need to set time up for that. What time is the meeting? Oh my gosh, I need to go home soon. I'm running overtime.
Mm.
So I look at this older population and I said, time is such a precious commodity to them because many of them don't have much time left. So if they get to spend it with someone who is concerned about them, who cares about them, who is giving them the eye contact in the ear that they need to have listened to them, then you know what? I walk away with a smile on my face and I say, even if I do nothing else the rest of this day, I was present for someone in an environment where presence may have been lacking or it may have been very, very different. So I was able to see that during the heat of the pandemic, and again, working in long term care, I was often summoned to respond to emergencies where someone wasn't doing well. And when I would get there, it was a matter of, oh my goodness, is there a do not resuscitate order or is there not? And very often they were like, no, Julie, there's no DNR. Well, hop on the bed. We're going to do what we can to bring this person back. And that was a form of presence also. Maybe not so much to the person who was sustaining the event, but it was presence to the people who were with me as we were trying to, restore some sense of life. Very many of these residents did not make it, they passed on. And my presence was there to not only pronounce them, but to provide post-mortem care also. And I remember one of the staff members saying, "Miss Julie, are you talking to this person? You know, this person is gone." And I said, the person may be gone physically, but spiritually, they're still here with us. And part of our role as a nurse is, it's a privilege to be there when someone is born into the world,
Yes.
but it's also a privilege to be with someone when they're leaving our world. And I said, my presence there, even if I'm talking to them, who knows? Who knows? But in that spiritual moment, I'm giving presence. And I'm here because this person who just passed before us deserves the dignity and respect for what they have done on this earth. And one of the caregivers said to me, that's awesome. That's awesome because I've never seen someone do that. It's almost like, we do what we need to do and we send them off. You're actually here spending time with them. And I said, they may not realize the time, but when you make the phone call to the family member and let them know what's gone on and that you let them know that they did not pass alone, that gives them the comfort that they need also. So they know that there was a presence. That person did not pass alone. Someone was there. And that, it brings me comfort and it brings me joy that I was able to be a part of that person's life. And if only one other person does the same thing that I've done, then I've succeeded in my goal. that we share presence and that we are present in many different ways, shapes, and forms. Um, and that was a lesson to me.
That's awesome. Wow. That means the practice of presence, okay, from what you just said, the practice of presence brought you joy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're not getting joy out of what you do, then I always say maybe the profession is not for you also, because you have to have, well, I believe you need to have a sense of joy. You have to do something that makes you happy. You have to do something that's going to make a difference. Yes, we gripe and we complain and we say we wish we had this and it's too bad that we have that. But at the end of the day, if you can leave, take a deep breath, sit in your car or the bus or however you get home, and just reflect upon your day. And if you were present in someone's life, even making the smallest bit of difference, then that's a joyous event. And that I'm so grateful for, that I was able to be a part of bringing joy not only to myself, but hopefully to someone else.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Julie. Okay, how do you think that, can you tell us more nurses can promote presence in their cares?
Well, I thought about this and I said, being that everything is about time, we don't have time for this and we don't have time for that. And, now I need to be present. I don't have the time to be present. I have a med pass to complete. I have documentation to complete. Sometimes I wish that we got rid of our watches, we took down the clocks, because when we measure what we do based on how much time it takes time again away from the population that we are there to serve. I would love to do a little experiment and just hide all the clocks, get rid of the watches. I know that on the computer screens we do have time, the time stamped there, but just to know that time is really very, very important. And when you think about what you can do, it doesn't take much time, because it's not the length of time, but it's the fact that you were there. And you
Yes.
can't take away being there from anyone. You can make your presence known in 1 minute, in 3 minutes, in 5 minutes, even in 30 seconds, just by knocking on a door, going in, giving someone a smile, greeting them, holding their hand. That's presence. And you know what? It doesn't take a lot of time to do that. I also say, imagine yourself in the bed of one of the patients or the residents that you take care of. Wouldn't you want someone to at least acknowledge you,
Of
see
course.
what you need, spend some time? Again, however many seconds or minute it takes, it makes a big difference. And that's what I would like to impart to nurses, that the element of time, what is time? We base it on a clock. We base it on the amount of time, how much time. I don't have time. But for the population that we serve, time can mean everything and anything. And again, in the population that I serve, they don't have an awful lot of it. So we want to fill up whatever amount of time they have left with as much as our presence that we can give. And again, just to bring a smile or some joy to them, because then we leave feeling like we've done our job, that this is what nursing is all about. And that's what I would like to impart. This coming fall, I accepted an adjunct position in
Oh,
the college,
wonderful.
and it's only a clinical position, but it's for brand new nursing students.
Okay.
And my message to those brand new nursing students when we meet is going to talk about presence, because they're going to be
Beautiful.
scared out of their wits And they're going to say, my God, this is what's going to make it or break it for them as to whether or not they truly want to be nurses. I don't want to scare them away, but I want them to know how valuable their presence is. So it will be my goal this coming fall with the students that I have to make sure that they always keep that concept of presence near and dear to their heart.
That's perfect. That's perfect. It's really interesting because I'm also learning. Honestly, it's adding more to my wealth of knowledge already. I appreciate what you are doing. I appreciate what you are doing. Oh,
Well, I think we learn from each other every day. You
beautiful.
know,
Yes, of course.
I don't proclaim to be an expert on anything. I may have years of experience behind me, but by no means does that make me an expert. And we learn every single day, if not from our colleagues, we learn from the population that we serve. And once you turn off your brain to learning, I would say it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. You got to be open. You have to be able to hear, listen, and then do what needs to be done. And that is what I'm really hoping for. And the PhD program has opened up my eyes to so many different things that I would never ever, have thought that I could do. It allows you to see things differently, to think differently, and to react differently. I was fortunate enough in my PhD program, um, in a health policy and reform course that we had, to spend a week in Washington, D.C.,
Okay.
and to see what was going on in our nation's capital was mind boggling. And it was so eye opening that I said, boy, I would like to dip my toes into the political arena and be an advocate for those that, again, are near and dear to me. But I said, it's put the thought in my head, but I said, I can't do anything until I finish this degree first. And then I'll think about ways in which to use it that's going to benefit the population that I'm very close to.
That's very okay. You know that COVID-19 has really done a lot globally. So what would you like to tell the nurses that are battling or in the field, battling with this COVID-19?
Well,
Words
I'm
of
happy.
encouragement for them,
Say that again.
words of encouragement for the nurses out there.
Well, I want to say be grateful that hopefully we're on the decline.
Mm,
I can speak here in the United States. The amount of cases are nowhere near what they were before. The amount of life lost is nowhere where it needed to be before. Um, Use your personal protective equipment as best as you can while those restrictions are still in place. But it's difficult, but try to put your fears beside you. Try to put that on the side because we are on the upswing. I know that you're involved in mental health. And when I look at the nurses who've gone through the pandemic, being at the bedside day in, day out for 12 to 16 hours a day, not getting any breaks, the amount of stress that they are undergoing, post COVID, and I'm seeing it now, and we're not through it all yet, but it is a form of post traumatic stress. And I don't often see enough support groups for the nurses who, even the physicians, all members of the healthcare team. I don't see an awful lot of, post traumatic stress disorder support groups for staff because I feel they need it too. Many staff nurses are leaving the profession or they're leaving to do other things. And to nurses who are still there, still working in the battleground, Don't give up hope. Be faithful. Help and a solution is on its way if it's not here already. Encourage people to be vaccinated. Um, but don't let that frighten you from being who you are and from being able to give your presence to the population that you serve. We're all here together. We need to utilize each other. You need a break, I'll step in. I need a break, you'll step in. But it's working collaboratively, it's working together, and letting people know that you are not alone, even though there's many times we feel we are alone. So those would be my encouraging words. Don't give up hope. Keep faith alive. Hopefully the tides are turning and that we have combated this beast, and we will know more about it, and we will learn from it as to where we were and where we are now. And again, to go back and bring that sense of joy that may have been missing for the last year and a half. That would be my message.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very amazing. Like you have a lot, and thank you for encouraging the nurses out there, because we all know that the impact of COVID-19 is really enormous. It's everywhere globally. Many have gone, and people are still struggling with their lives as a result of COVID. Thank you, thank you,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for being part of this exercise. Thank you for talking to us. Thank you, because we know that many will benefit from this. Thank you so much. We so much appreciate.
As I said, Dr. Precious, the pleasure has been mine. Privileged, honored. Thank you.
And
Thank you for inviting me.
thank you for being part of my success story, because I could remember your inputs in my conceptual framework. They were amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's us. We got to work collaboratively. We got to be there
Yes,
for each other. So
yes.
no thanks necessary.